Hello there. Welcome to Blitz Transmissions. This is the Blitzcast number 88. I'm Tommy. Now, I want to get a few things out of the way right at the top of this Blitzcast episode. You're not going to hear me talk about the self-promotion stuff I do where I plug everything. You're not going to hear me talk about Star Wars at all, really, in this Blitzcast episode. You're going to hear me talk about a very serious topic. So I'm going to go ahead and give a trigger warning of sorts, which is something that I usually laugh at when I hear there's a trigger warning, but this is something very serious and could be very deeply personal for some people. I'm going to give a trigger warning on, crimes against children for this Blitzcast episode. This is like the third or fourth time I've tried recording this episode because I keep just ending up speechless in this episode. I also want to give a couple shout outs. The one thing I do want to plug is the post that I have on my Instagram right now, partnered with Great White North Empire, my brothers of the Syndicate, Sarlacc Digest, and Shadow Nose Network, and 1313 Podcast. We have teamed up and made a fundraiser post for the Crimes Against Children Foundation, the CAC. If you guys would be able to, if you're able to, please go over to that Instagram post and donate some money to that. If you can't donate, if you're not in a position to, please share and repost, do whatever you can to help get the word out. We're trying to raise as much money as possible in the next 30 days for what I'm about to talk about today. So another thing that I want to say too, this episode of the Blitzcast will not be monetized. I am monetized on YouTube. I monetize all my other videos. This one will not be monetized. I would like for this video to get out to as many people as possible, as I feel like it's something that really needs talked about. But that being said, I am going to not be monetizing it because I don't like the idea of monetizing a video where I'm talking about such a serious topic. So before we get into the episode, let us start on a note here. Of course, I'm going to read from the Bible real quick. It does this verse here is from the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And that's what we are seeking to do with this fundraiser. So again, please, I'll plug that. It's the only link in the description. Please check out the fundraiser there. What I wanted to do on this Blitzcast episode was talk about D23, and most particularly the Ahsoka Season 2 trailer, which had me so excited. However, something happened when you're seeing this, it will have been yesterday, that came to my attention, and I kind of had to break the news to the Star Wars action figure community online about this, because it is my opinion that this is something that you should not be silent about. If you know what I do for a living, then you should know that I am always an advocate for victims. I'm always an advocate for speaking up. I'm always an advocate for making sure that people don't get away with things, especially very bad things. So this is something that I feel compelled to talk about on the Blitzcast. I do my best to steer away from real world stuff. This is supposed to be our escape, but unfortunately, something very evil has crept its way into our Star Wars collecting hobby, and it leaves me. I'm frustrated. I'm saddened. I'm upset. I'm feeling lots of things, and there have been many points today where I've been feeling very much at a loss for words. However, as somebody with a platform and as somebody with influence in this community, I feel that it is my obligation to talk about this and raise some awareness. I don't want this to be a long video. I want to keep it brief. There really isn't a whole lot for me to say other than the things that I have, mentally prepared to say. But I figured that the format of the Blitzcast was the perfect kind of format to get this out. So like I said, this is like the third or fourth time I've tried to sit down and record this. And I keep trying to make sure I have my ducks in a row before I bring it up. So I was, like I said, going to sit down this evening and record an episode of the Blitzcast about D23 and about the Ahsoka Season 2 trailer, when a friend of mine sent me an article. And so this pertains most mainly to the Star Wars The Black Series community. If you don't know what the Black Series is, it is Hasbro's 6-inch super articulated Star Wars action figure line. And it is the line that I, started collecting, got me back into my Star Wars collection as an adult. I have a very deep attachment to this line, and I know thousands of others out there do too. And since the COVID pandemic, there have been a couple YouTube channels that have gained a lot of traction since then, and one of them is going to be the subject of this discussion, Lukeness Monster. So I do just want to say, before I actually get into it, again, if you're sensitive to topics about crimes against children, if you're sensitive to topics, anything related to that, probably don't watch. It's a very serious thing. I'm also not going to be going into great detail about stuff. Please Google for yourself if you want to get the whole story in detail. Please Google, the whole situation. I have shared an article on my Instagram story. I shared an article in my Discord. You can go there if you want to see it. But I'm not going to sit here and drama alert this whole situation. But I do think that to a degree it does need acknowledged, and we need to raise awareness for things like this in the community, because I've been left with a bad taste in my mouth, seeing and hearing about some other creators in the community opposing even talking about this, and when they do talk about it, being very vague about it, which I think is a very cowardly thing to do, because this is not something that we should be sugarcoating or dancing around. This is something that is very real, and like I mentioned, this is evil creeping its way into our hobby. This is supposed to be our escape, and I'm very passionate about standing against this kind of behavior. So Lukeness Monster, I was sent an article. Lukeness Monster has been charged with possessing inappropriate material. I have to watch how I say it, because I know that YouTube and everything, that for some reason social media, you're not allowed to just say things. He has been charged, and he is going to trial soon for possessing inappropriate material involving minors, involving children. And even just speaking those words, I'm like, I can't believe I'm sitting here in front of a camera even saying that right now about the Star Wars action figure community, and especially about somebody so young. The digital age, I want to believe that the younger generation has an awareness and prides themselves on not contributing to such evil. And to hear that this has happened has left me just completely disgusted as a member of the community. He has been charged. The police investigation has been ongoing for over a year now, and since they're just now charging, they're clearly very confident in their evidence being sufficient enough to get them a conviction. This isn't something that police just charge for no reason willy-nilly. This isn't something that gets accidentally charged by police. This is something that many, many, many hours of investigation went into, and this is something that detectives will cross their T's and dot their I's on to get to the bottom of. So beyond that, I think this is really just the Blitz Transmission's PSA. This behavior, I shouldn't even have to say it. This behavior has no place in any community, let alone the Star Wars action figure community. And again, I'm kind of ashamed in some of my peers, especially content creators, who have been just radio silent on the whole thing. Like, I don't really want to talk about it. What are you talking about? This is one of our peers who has been charged and is going to have been arrested for something that is extremely serious. I don't think that you're being the bigger person by not spreading awareness about this. It's not about being angry. It's not about getting on the camera and hooting and hollering and calling him names and whatever, because that's not going to contribute anything. But I do believe that raising awareness for something so serious is extremely important. And taking an oath of silence on something like this and dancing around the topic is not going to help to raise awareness. This is not the place for this. We're adults. We should be able to hold each other accountable, and it shouldn't be controversial or frowned upon to raise awareness and call these kinds of things out when they arise in our community, because they have no place in this community. The entirety of Star Wars is the idea of inclusion and that people from differing perspectives can come together under a common cause. And I wanted to believe that this was the same, but I'm being left questioning that because there's this weird radio silence going on from people, or again, they're just dancing around the topic. So, again, it goes without saying, I'll just read my statement that I made on my Instagram story. It goes without saying this is absolutely vile and disgusting behavior. I'm disgusted as a member and creator in the Star Wars toy community to see this. It makes me sick to my stomach. This is one of those things we as a community should not and will not dance around or sugarcoat. This abhorrent behavior will not be tolerated in this community. There is no place for this kind of behavior in this community. This is not representative of this community. This will not be taken lightly. If anyone or anything is making you uncomfortable, this is why it is important to speak up. May the Force be with you. Now, this is what I really want to talk about here. I want to kind of take this and give it its moment, not to just raise awareness about what happened here and talk about how it has left me feeling, because it has left me feeling completely frustrated. I think it's more constructive to make this the opportunity to say, you need to speak up. You need to be an advocate for yourself. If anybody is making you uncomfortable, if somebody is in a way that you're feeling pressured to do something or to say something, you should absolutely speak up. Confide in those around you who you trust. Be an advocate for yourself. If you know what I do for a living, then you'll know I've given this same monologue to person after person. And time again, I see people not take heed to what I'm saying, and they end up in just this spiral of abuse. We are supposed to protect people who need protected. We are supposed to, as a community, be there for each other and have each other's backs. And when evil is knocking at the door, we have to, in unison, reject that evil. Be an advocate for yourself. Speak up. There are resources out there, such as the Crimes Against Children Foundation. We as a community are going to move forward from this. We as a community are going to grow stronger from this and hopefully have a better sense of togetherness coming out the other end of this. Again, I can't express into words my immeasurable disappointment and disgust with the whole situation, especially from someone so big in the community. But this is where the community has to pick up the pieces and move on and become stronger because of it. Through hardship, we become stronger. And in addition to being an advocate for yourself, I'm also going to urge the community to not be afraid to speak out, to talk to one another, to confide in one another. These are moments where it's important to have a sense of community. This is a moment where our community, it is extremely important for us to band together and have constructive conversation over something like this. I want to leave you all with a quote from Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels. She has a wonderful quote. We have hope. Hope that things can get better. And they will. And that is the mindset that we have to have here. I've been talking to friends who are Christians, friends who are not Christians, all throughout the day today. I've probably talked to over 100 different people just today. Just this afternoon. Regarding the situation. And I have heard from, believers in God and non-believers alike. Feelings of hopelessness and feelings of I should just quit. I just need to get off social media. This is where we need the hopeful voices most. This is where we need to band together. This is where if we lose the hope, if we let the spark, if we let the flame die, then what? Everything sucks and that's it? We need to band together. We're better than this. I've been very happy to see that different pockets of the Star Wars action figure community are kind of rising up and making fundraisers and making posts and sharing things and raising awareness for the situation at hand. But I think we do also need to acknowledge what happened in our community and not pretend that, and not dance around it. This is really all I have to say on this topic. I wish that I could have sat here and made some really fun video about, the Ahsoka 2 trailer. I wish I could have sat down this afternoon and recorded some reviews on some action figures. But this community means so much to me, and I was left so appalled this afternoon by things that I read, things that I saw. I'm extremely disappointed in the whole situation, but we must move forward. We must be resilient, and we must move forward as a community. I think I've exhausted everything I want to say on this topic. I didn't want this to be a long video. Please, again, I will urge you to check out the link to the fundraiser that we set up for the CAC, the Crimes Against Children Foundation. Check it out in the description below. But as I said, guys, we've had a dark day, but the sun will rise again, and we will keep moving forward, because that's what we're going to do. Because rebellions are built on hope. We need to keep on keeping on, okay? Do not be overcome by the evil. Overcome the evil with good. And once again, I find that Star Wars and my faith go hand in hand with each other when I'm feeling frustration or anger or all the things that I was feeling today. Thanking God for my faith, thanking God for this community, thanking God for Star Wars. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, after you see this, I'll go right back to this, the fun Star Wars content that I want to make, talk about action figures. But this needed addressed first. This is important. I hope that you always feel that the Blitz Brigade is a community where you can speak up, where you can speak your mind and have an opinion that goes against the grain, or feel like it's a place where you feel safe enough and secure enough to reach out to somebody that you trust and be an advocate for yourself and speak up. We need strength. We need to lean on each other. I think that's it. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Blitzcast, and I'll catch you for the next one. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Breaking off all units. Fire at will. 1-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our